Isaac, the protagonist, began to recount that in his world it was said that the alpha bites the omega's neck to mark them, a mark that lasts a lifetime on the omega. This union makes them a couple, and the current trend is to find that special person and get married, seeking romance. In the Seitan Aristocrat Academy, this concept of partnership is highly valued. In a mansion where many students gathered, everyone was looking for each other's partners, although not everyone shared that same obsession. Isaac arrived at a place and greeted everyone with a simple, "Hello, everyone." One of the attendees responded that it had been a while since he had shown up and asked if something had happened. Isaac, with a serious expression, commented that that day was the final exam and that he also had to present himself. As he looked around, Isaac noticed a boy he had never seen before and wondered who he was. A classmate explained that it was Ashi, the only son of the Taylor family, warning him that he shouldn't talk to him because he was very sensitive, perhaps because he had not yet been marked. He added that Ashi always came accompanied by an alpha, but that day, for some reason, he was not with him. Isaac got up from his seat and approached Ashi, sitting down next to him. With a smile, he introduced himself, saying he was Isaac and asking for his name. Isaac leaned on Ashi's book, who, noticing the gesture, quickly pulled the book away. Isaac, a bit surprised, told him not to go away. He moved closer to Ashi and commented that he had heard he had not yet been marked. Then, he asked when his heat was and suggested exchanging numbers, assuring him that he could help with that. However, Ashi suddenly stood up, exclaiming that it was wrong, and left the place. Isaac, seeing his reaction, murmured that he was cute. Later, in class, the teacher entered and asked if everyone had their exams ready. In a firm voice, he reminded them that that day the final exams began and that, as students of the Seitan Academy, they needed to be prepared. He clarified that cheating would not be tolerated and that those who attempted to cheat would receive a grade of 0. While Isaac yawned, the teacher continued talking about the penalties that would be applied to the activities of the following semester. He reminded that students with honors and scholarships would lose those benefits if they did not comply with the rules. Finally, he announced that it was time to start the test. During the exam, Isaac, instead of answering the questions, dedicated himself to drawing Ashi's face. Looking at him, he thought that Ashi had clean hair, a covered neck, and magnificent white skin. He wondered what kind of expression Ashi would have when they were together, feeling a great anticipation for that moment. Blushing, he reflected on the alpha who was always by his side, wondering if it was the same one he had heard about. However, he decided it didn't matter, as there were only 3 weeks left until his study trip abroad. Before leaving, he needed to find an excuse to be with Ashi. And well, suddenly Isaac achieves his goal, disrespecting Shi. At that moment, Isaac sensed the pheromones of another alpha near Ashi, which led him to try to mark him with his own. However, Ashi, visibly upset, shouted at him not to interfere, that it didn't matter to him, and that he should leave. Isaac, feeling the tension, accepted that he would go, but before closing the door, he uttered Ashi's name in an attempt to get closer. In response, Ashi threw a pillow at him and ordered him to leave. Frustrated, Ashi murmured to himself that he had not had any relationship with anyone and that he would not do something so disgusting. At that moment, his phone rang, interrupting his thoughts. He wondered who could be calling at that hour. Upon checking, he found a message that read, "I know your secret." Reading it, Ashi froze, thinking about how it was possible for someone to know. Concern grew within him as he realized he had been photographed while giving an answer. During class, Ashi was lost in his thoughts, wondering who could have taken his picture. It was evident that it was someone from his own class, as the photos had been taken during the exam. He felt frustrated, knowing nothing since the previous day and questioning what he had been thinking. Suddenly, his phone vibrated with a new message saying to go to the bathroom on the second floor. Noticing Ashi getting up, Isaac asked where he was going and what was wrong. Ashi, irritated, replied that it was none of his business. Upon arriving at the second-floor bathroom, Ashi found himself alone and wondered if it had all been a joke. As he looked in the mirror, he saw the silhouette of someone behind him. It was Isaac, who told him he was going to surprise him, but that it hadn't turned out to be funny. Recognizing Isaac, Ashi greeted him with a tone of disdain. Isaac, with a smile, commented that they were seeing each other again. Ashi, bewildered, asked why he was there and warned him that if he wanted something, he should say it, as he didn't want any cowardly threats. He also reminded him that the use of electronic devices during the exam was prohibited and that he couldn't let it slide. Isaac, laughing, replied that he didn't care if he had cheated or not, as he was the president's son, and that meant nothing to him. Ashi, surprised, asked why Isaac was behaving that way. Isaac, with a determined look, confessed that he needed something new, that he was tired of playing with his girlfriend as if they were lovers, and that, in some way, he had liked Ashi. He recalled the suggestion he had made in class when he offered to help him with his heat. Ashi, remembering those words, felt a mix of confusion and curiosity. Suddenly, Isaac hit Ashi, causing him to fall to the ground. Dazed, Ashi asked what he was doing. Isaac, with a mocking smile, replied that wasn't a simple way to be kind to each other. He explained that Ashi would become a scholarship student there and that he would gain the opportunity to have fun with him. Isaac hinted that he knew what he meant, asking him not to take it the wrong way, as he wasn't forcing him into anything. And well, I don't think those words Isaac said are true, because in the next scene, Isaac forcefully made Ashi give him a blowjob, eat his lollipop, no wink-wink here, because all of this was forced. Feeling satisfied, Isaac commented that it was nice, but he thought that was enough for today. He then invited Ashi to his house for the weekend. Ashi, surprised, hesitated as he repeated the invitation. Noticing his nervousness, Isaac told him he didn't have to tremble like that in 3 weeks he would be going abroad to study anyway. He assured him to hang out with him and that he wasn't forcing him, making it clear that he would decide what to do. Ashi, still feeling uneasy, confessed that he still felt nauseous and that the day had simply been overwhelming. He worried about what could happen next, fearing that the photo could trigger another threat at any moment. He felt anxious, wishing he could stop all of this. He thought it would be best to ask his father about taking a leave of absence, considering it preferable not to keep running into Isaac at school. Ashi entered his father's office and greeted him, apologizing. His father, with a smile, told him he was just in time, that his son was already there. A man who was present introduced himself as Jaffman, and Ashi, extending his hand, greeted him. Jaffman, regretting that he was about to head home after speaking with his father, suggested that they might see each other again in the near future before saying goodbye. Intrigued, Ashi turned to his father, mentioning the man who had just left. His father asked him to close the door first, reminding him that he was always so careless. With little time available, his father asked to quickly discuss his grades. He asked how he had done this time, assuming he had achieved good results. Ashi replied that they would know for sure when the report card came out, but he believed they would probably be fine. Ashi's father, confident, commented that all of this was because families sponsored by the royal family could only be granted scholarships from the academy. He then asked if Ashi was participating in all the volunteer services. Ashi, hesitating, admitted that he was, but that he was a bit tired of it lately and thought they could perhaps take a break starting next week. The father, surprised, revealed that Duke Jaffman had proposed that Ashi marry him. Ashi, stunned, exclaimed what was happening. His father explained that the condition was for Ashi to become a sponsor of his foundation. He reminded him that he was focusing on his studies, so he had set that aside for now, emphasizing that the most important thing was royal sponsorship. Ashi's father reminded him that if he didn't get the scholarship, things would be different. He explained that there was only one thing an incompetent Omega could do in the Taylor house and urged him to be a good son for him, emphasizing that he needed to understand what he meant. Ashi, clenching his hand with determination, replied that he would, father. Ashi reflected on his situation, remembering that since he became an adult, for arranged marriages had already tried to come into his life. The first was transgender, the second a drug addict, the third an ex-convict, and now he was faced with an old man with a belly. He felt frustrated, thinking that none of them were normal. Ashi arrived at Isaac's house, feeling that maybe he had known from the beginning. However, he realized that he simply had no more options. He decided to stay with Isaac, promising not to be cruel, and to make an effort to get along over time. This story could have gone much further, but they left it there, or maybe a few more chapters. However, The important thing here is that you must value yourself. Let's remember that we are unique and should not underestimate ourselves. Each of us possesses our own qualities, and we are very valuable. I hope you enjoyed this short story. If you did, don't forget to leave a like so we can have our community active again. I wish you a lovely morning, afternoon, or night. Bye-bye.